came from Boston where we were like #1, just killing with like CD signings that lasted all day. And then New York, we were just blending in with everybody else. We had 2 opportunities in New York City. One was with K-Rock and one was with WNEW. This was unheard of to have 2 huge radio stations wanting you. There was a little baby on the air, a little baby named Howard Stern. He demanded that we don't go on his radio station. So we went to the WNEW, which was just a shithole. What the fuck, man? We're giving them everything and nothing is really sticking. On the Long Island Expressway with Anthony, I'm like, dude, we just gotta fucking start talking and blow off all the music. You know this music sucks. The next month we're driving home on the Long Island Expressway, and all of a sudden the ratings, that day we saw that the ratings went up just a little bit, and then it went beep, 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 and then it went through the fucking roof. That run was just absolutely unbelievable. I remember where I was when I first heard you on WNEW. I mean, that run was just absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable. And for the first at least 6 months, we were not moving the needle. And I'm telling you, the conversation went like this. Me and Anthony were commuting together all the way to Huntington, Long Island. We actually lived very close to each other in Huntington, Long Island. And we would take turns driving in. And one day, after about 6 months, you got to remember, we couldn't do anything wrong in Boston. But obviously in New York, there was so much more competition. Not that there was a lot of competition in afternoons. It was kind of a joke, to be honest with you. Who the hell was the big show? I forgot their names on PLJ. With Blaine, I think. Oh, Rocky and Blaine. I think they were our only competition. And then Sean Hannity was doing his thing. And I guess Mike and the Mad Dog. We were on WNEW for 6 months, and the radio station was, I mean, in the toilet. It was all these old DJs that were pretty successful in their day, but their time passed them by. I'm kind of feeling that same thing they felt all those years ago. That happens to everybody. So after 6 months, we're not moving the needle. And we came from Boston where we were like #1, just killing with like CD signings that lasted all day. We could barely go anywhere. I mean, everyone followed us around. It was pretty awesome, getting recognized everywhere. And then New York, we were just blending in with everybody else. So we're driving home. We're in horrendous Long Island Expressway traffic, and I'm looking at it like, what the fuck, man? We're giving them everything and nothing is really sticking. And then I said to Anthony, I think the problem is that we're not talking enough, because they were forcing us to play a lot of records, a lot of music. And the problem was, this will be a little inside, but some people will appreciate this. They didn't want WNEW playing music that K-Rock would be playing. So that was the younger rock. And then the stuff, I think it was CBS FM was playing. So they were trying to find like a niche for WNEW. So it was all these bands that weren't huge. They were sort of popular, but not really. Think like Third Eye Blind, where you could, they had one good song, but you needed to fill time. So they were trying to find more songs from like Third Eye Blind and bands like that. And we're like, fuck, man, we should be playing Metallica. That's the obvious thing. But Howard put a stop to that. Just to back up a second, when we got fired in Boston, we had 2 opportunities in New York City. One was with K-Rock and one was with WNEW. This was unheard of to have 2 huge radio stations wanting you. And then I remember to this day, the agent calls me. He's like, all right, they want you to pick. We met with both companies, both radio stations. We met with Tom Chiusano. We met with Scott Herman. And we're like, all right. And Bob Eatman goes, you guys need to pick between the 2 stations. They both want you really badly. I'm like, oh, all right. And the funny thing is, they were trying to get us out of the Boston market because we were killing their properties up there. This is how this shit works in radio. They grab the people that are killing your radio stations in a particular city, and they move you to a city that needs help. And we were those guys. So me and Anthony had like a 1-minute conversation about it because it was obvious. We're like, well, we got to go to K-Rock. They're playing the exact same music we were playing up at WAAF, the only station that really rocks. So let's go to K-Rock. So we call Bob. Bob, we made our decision. We want to go to K-Rock. He goes, that's a great decision. I'll let the company know. And he did. And then all of a sudden he calls us back like an hour later and he says, he goes, yeah, you can't go to K-Rock. You got to go to WNEW. And I'm like, wait, but you told us to choose. We chose. And the story goes, it was told to me that there was a little baby on the air, a little baby named Howard Stern, that did not want us on his radio station. He demanded that we don't go on his radio station because I guess they had to run everything by Howard because it was his look. It was his station. I mean, look, you can't deny what he did for K-Rock in New York City. So they had every intention of putting us on K-Rock, but they had to run it by the big guy, and he demanded that we're not on the same radio station as him. I'm like, oh my God. So we went to the WNEW, which was just a shithole with old jocks, and their time had passed, and then they were just allowing them to play this music that was in between their other two radio stations. And we were trying to move the needle. We're throwing everything at our audience. And the old jocks did not like that. They would put up hate faxes. That's why this hate to this day is like, dude, I've been in the hate world my entire career. I was at a radio station. We were brand new, and the old time listeners hated us. So they would send in faxes basically saying, get Opie and Anthony off the goddamn air. They stink. It's pretty much everything I hear to this day. And the radio DJs would hang up the faxes in the studio before we started our show. This was what we were up against. So back to the Long Island Expressway. We're driving home. The traffic sucks. It's been 6 months. The ratings are coming out once a month, and it's like it's flat. We're down a little, and they really, really needed us to move the needle, or they were going to move on to something else. And then you hear the whispering in the hall, like, maybe they're not as good as we thought they were. Maybe Boston was a fluke. You started hearing this in general. So that day on the Long Island Expressway with Anthony, I'm like, dude, we just got to fucking start talking and blow off all the music. This music sucks. We know how to talk, because at the end of our Boston run, we were barely playing records, which was unbelievable too, because people really tuned into WAF for all that alternative hard rock music. So the next day we went in and we just started blowing off records. And to Gary Wall's credit, our first PD, he's like, "Fuck yeah, man, do that." And he allowed us to just drop all the music. And I say allow because we had no credibility yet. We had nothing that we could insist on doing things yet. We just had to listen to the bosses, unfortunately. And then wouldn't you know, like the next month we're driving home on the Long Island Expressway, and all of a sudden the ratings that day we saw that the ratings went up just a little bit, and then it went deep, and then it went through the fucking roof, and the rest is history.